afternoon, Year 2, and welcome to your science lesson. We're going to start off with, as always, with our just check-in. So can you please read the question and answer them on your paper, and we'll go through each question. You can pause, you can answer, and then we'll go through the answers together. So last lesson, write down 2 ways that seeds can disperse. So think back to last week. How do seeds disperse? How do they spread? How do they do it? Have a go and write down 2 ways. Okay, fantastic. So you could have put down any of these different ways. We could have had water. Oh, it's a bit big. Let's make it a bit smaller. Had water, we could have wind, we could have explosion, we could have animals. They either eat it and then digest it out, poo it out, or they could they do it by their fur, so digestion, or by their fur. Okay, so they move the seeds around that way and they go to different places and then they grow and they be new flowers. Right, last unit, when we were looking at humans and animals, what do we become after we are a baby? So what life stage do we become after a baby? Have a go, write it down. Pause the screen if you need to. Okay, and the answer is a toddler. After a baby, we become a toddler. We learn to do things more for ourselves, we learn to walk, we learn to talk, and all of those different things. Right, what part of our body do us humans take our air into? So when we breathe, what part of our body does it go into? Pause the screen and write it down. Well done, and the answer is lungs. Well done if you got that right. Absolutely fantastic. Right, how are camels suited to their habitat? How are they suited to their habitat? Have a go, write down some of the ways that they are suited to their habitat. Pause the screen. Okay, and you could have put any of these ideas. You could have put their feet. So their feet and their hooves are suited to the sand. They have a hump where they store fat in their hump, which they can then turn into water and energy if they need it. They have thin fur to keep them cool, but on the top of their heads, they have thick fur. They have thick fur that acts as shade. Okay. Right, and last question, what do plants need to survive? Pause the screen and write it down. Okay, well done. And the 2 main things you should have put down, they need other things will help them to survive, but the main things they need to actually live and to survive is sun and light. Not sun and light, sorry, water and light, and the light comes from the sun. Okay, well done. Absolutely fantastic. Right, our big question this afternoon is how do different conditions affect germination? So conditions means how does the weather, how does how hot it is, how much water you've got, how dark, how light it is, how does it affect germination? What do you think germination is? Have a go, pause your screen and write down what your idea is about what germination means. To do with plants, what do you think? Okay, I'm not going to tell you at the moment because we're going to go through some other bits, but keep thinking, and as I give you more clues, see if you can work out what it means. So this afternoon, we're going to be investigating conditions for germination. So what's the best conditions for the germination of a plant? What's the best things that we can give a plant to help it to germinate? Giving you all clues about what germination might mean. We're going to, our success criteria is we're going to decide what tests to carry out. So what kind of test are we going to do? We're going to ensure the test is fair. We're going to carry out the test, predict what will happen, and look at others' results to help our prediction and to help us work out what might happen. Right, so a little bit of a starter. Germination means to get germs. Is that true, false, or somewhere in the middle? And a seed will always grow. Pause the screen and see if you can work out what's going to happen. Okay, so a seed will always grow, not always, okay? It won't always grow, but I'm not going to put 100% on false because like 99% of the time it won't grow if it hasn't been given the right things and stuff like that. So it's not always going to grow, but some seeds will just grow. They won't grow very healthily and they won't be very strong, but they will sometimes just grow without anything. And germination means to get germs. No, not in this context, not in this science lesson, but I'm still not going to tell you what it means. Keep thinking. conditions for germination. Right, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to show you now a video. And this video shows germination happening, which again will be another clue about what germination means. All right? Right, are you ready? Let's carry on.
When a seed is planted, it takes in water from the soil and starts to swell. Inside the seed itself, a tiny root and shoots start to grow. The root presses down into the soil to take in more water.
You can see how the root goes in to get water.
Start to grow, and the young seedling is then held firmly in the soil.
That's how it's held.
At the same time, the shoot is growing upwards towards the light.
Goes up towards the light, towards the sun. Okay, so are you ready to find out what germination means? You've had lots of clues, lots of thinking. Let's get going. So, germination is when a seed starts to grow and produce shoots. So when it starts to grow, you can see in that picture, and the shoots start coming up and it's ready to form the plant. It's growing its roots to hold it into the ground, and then it starts to shoot up towards the light, and that's why it goes upwards. Sometimes seeds can be in the ground for a long time before they start to germinate. They're just waiting for it to be the right time. They're waiting for everything to be right, to have the right amount of water, the right amount of light, the right amount of warmth. They lie dormant, which means like sleeping, not doing anything, until the conditions, the light, the dark, the warmth, whatever, are right for growing. So what time of year do you think seeds usually start to germinate? Pause the screen and have a go and tell me why. Okay, well done. So the time of year that they usually start to germinate is in the spring. So when it's getting a bit warmer, there's more light, there's longer days, they're lighter. It's like the end of winter, beginning of spring. Okay, it's warmer. They've got enough water, but it's not too wet and too waterlogged. And it's not too cold. It's beginning to get a bit warmer. But it's not boiling hot either. So if we want to make these seeds germinate, what would we have to do? What conditions would be best? Would they need wet or dry? Would they need warm or cold? Have a little think, pause the screen and write it down. Okay, fantastic. So again, they kind of need somewhere in between. So they don't need it to be completely waterlogged. They do definitely need water. If they have no water at all, a seed will not germinate and it won't survive. So it does need some water, but not to be over watered. And the same with warm and cold. It needs to be warm. It doesn't need to be boiling hot or really, really cold. It's got to be that somewhere in between. A nice kind of warm, mild kind of temperature would be the best for the germination. So today you're going to be planning and setting up an experiment. Setting up an experiment to find out which conditions are best for seed germination. So how could we do this and how could we make it a fair test? So for example, we're going to be looking at today putting one seed in, or some seeds in the dark and some seeds in the light or near the light so they can get light. What else would we have to keep the same to make it a fair test? So one's in the light, one's in the dark. That's what's different. What do we have to do to make it a fair test? Pause the screen and write it down. Okay, so things that would have to be the same would have to be the type of seed we use, because also we might put one seed in that's better in the dark or not so good in the light, and the same amount of seeds. We're still going to have to give it water, but we need to give it the same amount of water, the same amount of soil and the same type of soil, and the same warmth. Okay, one can't be really cold and one warmer or the other way around. It's got to be the same. So that's how we make it fair. Otherwise, it may start to grow, but it's because of the water it's been given and nothing to do with the light and dark. So everything else has to be the same so we can actually work out what happens in the light and in the dark. So if you have some seeds or you can get some seeds and you would like to take part in the investigation, you can. And I'd love to see some photographs of you doing this investigation. If you choose to do option 1, it doesn't matter which option you choose, you can find this worksheet in Files under Science, and you can complete it if you have some seeds. You've got to go through it. You've got to tell me what type of seeds you're using, where are you going to put your seeds, and then you can tick all of the different sentences which show you what you're going to do to keep it fair. So keep all the pots in the same place. Well, no, because that won't be the same, because one's got to be in a dark place and one's got to be in a light place. But plant the same number of seeds. Yep, we've said that has to be the same, because otherwise we'll think, oh, this one's growing brilliantly, but actually it's got 20 seeds in it. And the other's only got 5. You've got to read the instructions of how to carry out your investigation. And then here you can draw a picture of what you think is going to happen to each pot, the one in the light and the one in the dark, and then right underneath what's going to happen. So the one in the light will do what, and the one in the dark will do different. And you've got to keep some things the same. If you don't have any seeds or you don't have time to do this investigation, there's another activity you can do which will still help you to learn exactly what happens in this investigation. And this is as an assignment on Teams. And you can do this as well as doing the investigation. So what it's got is this little boy has already completed an investigation, and he's told you how many days it took his seeds to start to germinate. So with your other investigation, remember to record on what day the one in the light started to germinate, and then on what day the one in the dark started to germinate. So you can see here he's given a pot here with water and a pot here without water. And he's told you on what day the one with water germinated and on what day the one without germinated. And the same he's done here, but he's done one in a cold fridge and one in a warm cupboard, and told me which day the one in the cold fridge germinated and on which day how many seeds germinated in the warm cupboard. So download this onto Teams, go and look at this on the assignment app, and on there you'll be able to answer some questions underneath about these results. It tells you, like for example, here in the warm cupboard on day 5, 2 seeds germinated. Meanwhile, on the pot without water on day 5, 0 seeds germinated. So go and have a look at the results, see if you can work out what's happened, and then write down your answers on the assignment. Okay, I look forward to seeing your investigations. I look forward to seeing your assignments, and send us some photographs as well if you do some seed planting. Right, bye for now. Take care.